One. Welcome to the Chef Fit podcast, you bunch of freaks. This is episode God knows what, somewhere in the ballpark of between 12 and 16. POBG, what's the beef, pal?
What's the crack, lads? Are we all well? Episode, insert random number here.
No idea what episode it is. No idea. We went about 3 episodes there where it said 8, but it was actually 9. It was just...
Yeah, we did a few sevens.
Yeah.
A few sevens.
Who cares? Who cares, folks? Numbers, just numbers. It's the message that counts. Anyway, any crack, Peter?
Oh, we're all good, man. All good. I have my big football tournament tomorrow. With my newer team, with the girls team.
Based in it.
And yeah, so I was at a training session, it's called the Martins Cup, right? And then last week was the mini Martins, which is the first, second, and third. And this one is the 4th, 5th, and 6th. So I had the girls' A team. And when I was at it last week, they split a football pitch into 3, right? So 3 pitches across and did 11 aside, right? So with 4th, 5th, and 6th classes, that's not really going to work, right?
No.
And they said the only change they're going to do is make it 9 aside, right? So 18 people aged, 10, 11, 12 on a third of a pitch is a recipe for British madness.
Mental.
Yeah, big time. And there was lots of throw-ins, but instead of throw-ins, because of the way the rules were, they were doing kick-ins from the touchline. Right. Now this is all organised by Turner Rangers, where I coach my main team, right?
Right.
And so instead of taking throw-ins, we were taking kick-ins, and I was like, hold on a second. A third of a pitch and you have throw-ins off the ground. So I got the best player, who's a defender. She's in 6th class. She's tall enough, but she's really strong, and she's a good kicker of the ball.
Yeah. And
we had training on Monday night, and every time we had to throw in, from no matter where it was, I said, okay, you take that and have a crack. He's like, what? I said, just shoot. Every single time we get a throw in from there, you're just going to shoot, no matter where it is on the pitch. And she goes, no, I can't do that. I said, you're taking on the goal kick, so it doesn't matter, you're just doing it from the side. The first one was inside our own half. She took it, bang, top bins, stuck it in the back of the net. I was like, right. I think we might be onto something here. She had 6 of them, and she scored 5 of them in a row. Right, we're going to win this, man.
That's mad. Athletes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Athletes.
That's it, man. Listen, you've a fledgling football managing career ahead of you, pal.
Yeah, big time.
Take them to the top.
Live it through the kids.
Vicariously. So what we're talking about today, chefs, is the fact that the grass is not greener on the other side. This is a really, really interesting topic or concept that I actually pulled out of my hole in the middle of a live video a couple of months ago. When I said it, I was like, fuck, that makes sense. Where the fuck did I get that from? Purely original. So really, like, what are we actually on about here? We live in a world, I've talked about this before. It's like we live in this world of instant gratification, right? We live in this world where what we have right now isn't good enough, and there's always that thing on the horizon that you want. In every aspect of your fucking life, not just chefs, but everybody. As I said, it's like, it's always the next phone. It's always the fucking, do you know what I mean? It's the next iPad. It's the next fucking game console. It's the next film that's coming out. It's always the thing over there that we're looking to get through. And in your career, chef, this same concept applies. And this is where you'll get into the frame of mind of you stepped into this industry, and eventually over time, you grew sick of this industry and what it did to you, or what you let it do to you. Let's be real here. Take ownership. What you let it do to you, right? And because we're not all victims around here. So over time, then you get to the point where it's like, fucking, like, I can't do this shit anymore. And eventually you'll hit a wall, and you'll think you have to make this decision of going, right, I look at regular people with 9 to 5s and all these things going on in their life, and I look at that and I go, right, if I was just doing what they were doing, I'd be fine. And I kind of get it. I get where you're coming from. It's easy to think like that. I have an argument here, Peter might disagree with me. He might agree with me in some ways, but I have an argument here
Go
that
on.
regardless of what that next fucking job is, whether you want to stop being a chef and go and work with fucking Mary down the road in an office, or, you know, whether you want to go from working like going to the restaurant to working in an agency or whatever it is, yeah? It's like the thing that was causing you to live such an unhappy life that makes you question so much, half of that could be the industry, half of that is you. Yeah? Half of that is the industry, half of that is you. But a lot of chefs will adopt this mindset that it's 110% the industry, and it's nothing to do with them. It's nothing to do with them. When the reality is I think that's wrong. Why? Because think about it. This industry is beating you down, quote unquote. Yeah? The industry is beating you down. Because the industry is beating you down, you try and deal with that and compensate for that with different vices. So as me and Peter talked about, it's like, cool, smoking a spliff, drinking your booze, you know, that becomes a nightly thing. You're out in the fucking bag on any given occasion when you can. You know, it's picking at shite during the day, it's caffeine, it's all of these things combined lead to you having a very unhappy life. Now, when those bad things start to become automatic and habitual to you, it doesn't fucking matter where you're working. Yeah? It doesn't matter where you're working. So I don't care if you've gone from working 70 hours to 40 hours. I don't care if all of a sudden you have your weekends off. And I don't necessarily care if you've completely changed your career. Those shitty patterns and habits are going to follow you over to that thing. So the problem is you're trying to look at the dangly carrot in front of you and go, okay, right, well, if I just go over there, it'll be fine. If I just go over and start doing this thing, like things will start getting better. And it's like, you have to get out of this mindset of it's over there, I must go over there. It'll be fine when this happens. It'll be okay when I'm in a better headspace. It'll be okay when I have more time. And it's like, no, you need to change your fucking situation now. You need to start making the grass greener where you're standing. Use this concept of you're standing in a lump of shit. All the grass around you that you're standing on right now is like scorched earth. It's like that, like driving by in Spain where you're going fucking down the road and you look in the field to the left and it's all fucking dry land and it's all fucked up grass. That's what the grass looks like where you're standing. So you need to be able to plant seeds and cultivate that fucking ground until grass grows. And that's what you're not doing. That's why your habits are shit. And that's what's causing a lot of the problems. So I don't disagree that the industry fucks you up. Peter's an example of that. But you have to start thinking that I need to sort where I'm at right now instead of going, it'll be better when I do this. That was a big rant. Anyway, where do you think you stand on that, Peter? Because obviously you got to a point yourself where it's like, nah, like I've got to...
I'll tell you, like the first thing that popped into my head, right, when you started off was to ask you a question of what do you think the average life or the life expectancy is of a chef job, of a chef working in a restaurant? What do you think it would be?
Depends on how long they stay in the fucking death clutch of doing those hours. So if they do stay doing those hours, you'd be fucking lucky to get into your 60s, I'd say.
Yeah, big time. You can't do it to a working age, right? So the other part of that is that the average lifespan of a chef job is, I would say it's around 10.5 months. I'd say it's less than a year.
What?
Right? Yeah, of course it is. 10 months. That's how long. That's an average. We'll stick that up in the group later on, actually, yeah? And ask people how many people have had steady jobs that lasted over 2 years. I would say the average is around 10 months. Okay? So the reason why I agree with you and disagree with you is because I did it from both sides, where I wanted the grass to be greener. Everybody always wants the grass to be greener, no matter what. You know what I mean? Whether it's your work or whatever, everything is always better. You know, there's a thing called N+1, right? And it's a formula for this idea of happiness. It really goes for material things. Like I first heard about it in bikes. N+1. N is the number of bikes that you currently own. N+1 is the amount of bikes that you're happy with. right? So the same goes for your job. N is your current job. N plus one is the job that you're happy with. N plus one equals N. So you still want to have a better job. You still want to move on. And where I do agree with you is to make the grass greener. I look at that more as to make the grass greener where you are in yourself and not in the job. If you're still in the service industry, the restaurant side of it, the chaotic side of it, the madness side of it, because, you know, I've said it a couple of times on the podcast before, I don't encourage it anymore whatsoever, you know? Yeah. And, you know, if you can make the grass greener where you are by sorting yourself out, getting your headspace sorted, getting your own personal life sorted, then you'd be able to withstand it a lot better. Yeah. But I do think the grass is a lot greener of getting away from
that madness.
Yeah, like you've told me 1,000 times, you are the sum of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. You know, if you're surrounded by toxic people and then you say, right, you know, I have to just make this place work. That's an awful thing to hear chefs say. You hear chefs saying that all the time. No, I have to make this place work, you know, especially head chefs. And I've done that when I was working in places as head chefs. You can try and make the grass greener, but you still have that dickhead manager who was, you know, a waitress 2 years ago in her first ever job. And now she's the general manager of a restaurant because it's dirt cheap and she knows the place well.
Yeah, big time. And I think there's a balance. With anything, there's a fucking balance. Do you know what I mean? There is a balance. And that's why I said I have an argument here, because I think like it's definitely a fact that if you're working a 60, 70 hour week in a fucking nightmarish environment, that it's going to take cut off there.
And we're back from our quick commercial break. Heads up, Cam, what are you saying?
So what I was saying there was that if you're working that 60, 70 hour week and you are in the shit and it is a tough environment, 110% that's going to take something out of you. Like 110% that's going to take something away from your life. But I also feel for a lot of chefs that they shoot themselves in the foot because it depends where the problem is coming from. If the problem is coming from the job and it's coming from you, cool. Where if you make yourself better and you find a better job, happy days. That's the perfect solution. But I feel for a lot of chefs, you aren't even working a 60, 70 hour week. Even chefs who are working less hours, they're still destroying themselves. You know, yeah. And that's my argument, is that I feel the good majority of chefs are annihilating themselves through their lifestyle. So if you're annihilating yourself through your lifestyle, it doesn't fucking matter what the next job is. That's just another job. You'll still carry that same thing with you. It'll be fine for a week or two while you're settling in, and then you'll just go back to the same old shit. The grass is not greener on the other side. Yeah, you have to make that grass greener where you're standing. I could probably close that curtain as well because I'm starting to shine. Very angelic there. But again, it's a valid argument. I want to the reason I talk about this and the reason I want to fucking make such a big thing of saying it, man, because I really think this industry is rife with victims. You know, I really do. I really think it's people who think that their career is an affliction as opposed to a choice. And it's like, oh yeah, it's always going to be better over there. It's not, man. It's not. I've done this in every single job I've been in. You know, when I was coaching, it was like, or maybe it was moving from restaurant to restaurant. Maybe it was going, you know, went from being in a restaurant, went to work in a bar. Then after working in bartending, it was like me and my brother had the food truck. Each role was a fucking nightmare, man. Like each one had its own collection of problems. But the thing that remained the same was the fact that I did not take care of myself during those years. The thing that remained the same was that I was all over the fucking place. You know, vices had taken over completely. And you can't expect your life to feel fulfilled when that's the case. And that's really, really vitally important. So again, like, stop looking over there. Stop looking for some magic pill, magic potion, quick fix, you know, greener pastures. The only way that you're going to fix the situation is that you save yourself. And that's by planting seeds where you are right now. So what do I mean by planting seeds? It means it's like, are you exercising? Yes or no? Are you eating good, nutritious food? Yes or no? Are you filling yourself with garbage? Yes or no? Like, the answer to those questions will genuinely give you clarity on what needs to be done. So that's what I mean by planting the seeds. Are you actively trying to improve yourself physically and mentally? That's what planting seeds means. And if you're actively trying to do that, happy fucking days. That's half the puzzle. That's half the battle. Then you ask yourself, okay, what do I want in my life? Is my life, do I want to cook at the absolute top level and push for a star, have my own place? Cool. Chances are you probably do need to be working in the fucking pressure pit for your, you know what I mean, the majority of your career if you want to get to that level. But that's if that's what you fucking want. I used my brother as that example. It's like he wanted that, but he's the 1% of fucking chefs that actually want that. Do you know what I mean? 1%. So very few of you will actually go to that. So I think the majority of you need to ask yourselves, like, if I'm working as a chef de partie and I'm in my fucking 30s and I'm in a high level kitchen that is taking a huge amount out of me, do I really need that in my life? You know, potentially you could be going to agency, potentially you could be going to contract catering, and potentially you could fill your life with a lot more balance. And there probably wouldn't be as much of a fine, like, you know what I mean? The difference financially isn't going to be that much either. But again, it all starts with you. What do you need to do to improve your life, improve yourself? Once you improve yourself, then you can start asking bigger questions about your career. And the career does it need to change? Does it not need to change? Who knows? But I know for a fact that if you're in the shit as a person, that it's not going to get better over there. That's what I know. So if you do have your shit together and you still feel the career is ruining you, then potentially you can go and look at getting something else. But I think sort yourself out first. That's the big takeaway here. And you do that by planting seeds, son. Actively improve yourself.
I'm seeing that going on. I'm seeing that going on right now with somebody, and it's serious. It was a long conversation today, where he was like, right, he has absolutely lost the run of himself physically, like completely. I've been trying to get him into chef it, but he hasn't. He thinks he's special. You know yourself, right? Yeah. And there's a lot of changes going on in the place that he works in, and he's saying, "Oh no, fuck this, I'm leaving." And I was like, "Right, but he started in that place under 2 years ago."
Yeah.
And he's like, "No, there's a job going over there. I went for interviews. I'm not having this shit. I'm not having this shit." And that's exactly what you're saying, where he's not happy in work, but he's not happy outside of work. And he's having a serious self-crisis at the moment. And what he's thinking is, the solution to all of this, what he keeps saying is, I'm just going to change job.
Yeah. Dangly carrot.
I'm going to go. Yeah.
It's dangly carrot syndrome, and you're just going.
Yeah, knee-jerk reaction as well, you know. You can't let work rule you, you know, that way.
Totally, man. Totally. But he's also not, like, he might be fixing one part of the problem, but that's not the real problem. Like, he's still going to have the same shit when he goes over there. Like, that's
yeah.
You know?
Well, if he was in a better place physically and mentally, all this shit would roll off his back then, you know what I mean? Well, a lot of it would. A lot of the stuff he's saying is true, like, but like, I know from my own experience and knowing the place that he's in that he's actually onto a good sus there, but he doesn't see it. But overall, he's not firing on all cylinders as it is. And his solution to this is, I'm just going to leave. I'm just going to quit. Even at one stage, he's like, "No, Joe, I don't think I'm going to come back tomorrow." This is a bloke with like a wife and kids and stuff. You know what I mean?
Mental. That's mental.
Very common. Very, very common. And then you'd be surprised now. Have a look later on and see what the story is. But the chef's job is a year.
Yeah, big time.
Even when I was in good places, it's a year, 2 years max. I had one job that was 5 years. The rest of them were like 1 to 2 years.
Fucking mental.
You say that to somebody who works in an office or something, they're like, what? I've been working there for 12 years. I've moved up to the 4th floor now, but that's as far as I go.
Very, very true. I think bringing this into the harbor, the last thing is this whole, obviously we're talking about chefs looking for a new career, but like this same concept, it's instant gratification. That's the thing that I stand out about, okay? And I go, no, that's your fucking problem. Your problem is you're instantly gratified, and that's what stops you from getting to where you want to go. For example, people who talk about wanting to lose weight never lose weight permanently. People who say they want to lose weight never lose weight permanently. Why? Because you're for some retarded reason, you're fucking obsessed about a number on a scales, okay? As opposed to understanding that if you get to a certain shape, you should have basically the infrastructure of habits and routines in your life that allows you to stay in that shape. But what most of you do is you want the result, but you don't want to fucking work hard for the result. So therefore, you look for the thing that requires the least amount of effort. So that's why you'll go to, well, Jesus, remember we were talking about fat burners before? It's like, fuck me. I remember I used to take fat burners back in the day. And when I'd take a fat burner back in the day, I'd stop dieting. Sure, I'm taking the fat burner. That's doing the work for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I was doing that. I was taking fat burners and then drinking 3 cans of Red Bull.
Mental. Like that's
3 cans of Red Bull and actually trying to lie down and have a nap while drinking 3 cans of Red Bull.
Totally. That's the idea. A lot of chefs that I speak to are in that frame of mind. I just need to lose a bit of weight. Why do you need to lose a bit of weight? You can't even tell me why you want to lose weight, pal. What the fuck are you on about? You know? So it's like, first off, in that case, get clear on why you're doing it. Get clear on why you're doing it and understand that like quick fixes don't work sustainably. Diets don't fucking work. Supplements don't fucking work. It's the operating system that works. What's your operating system? Habits, routines, rituals. And it's the same thing with your making your life better in your career. It's like if your habits, routines, and rituals are dog shit, then it doesn't matter if you go over there, the grass ain't greener, son. Very, very simple concept. So with that in mind, that's our episode for today. Make sure you subscribe to the channel on YouTube.
Or I'll beat your fucking ass.
That's it. 5-star review.
That's a verbal threat.
That's it. That is shanked son. Stab twist. Podbean, again, follow us on that. Subscribe to the channel. Thumbs up on YouTube, please, and share it around with your friends. Tag them if they need to hear this, and I will catch you all very soon.
Peace.